What's up, guys? Long time no see. This right here is a $500 computer featuring a Ryzen 5 5600 and a GTX 1660 Super. If you don't know what that means, it's pretty fast. So you can play games like Cyberpunk and Elden Ring and even stream without it really breaking a sweat. And personally, I think it looks pretty good. Now, you may not be able to build this computer exactly because of stock, inventory, but I'll show you how to build something comparable to this at around the same price. Teach a man to fish, or whatever. And in classic OzTalks fashion, we'll try to do it in a very relaxing way. Let's get started. So to kick things off, I decided to go with the Ryzen 5 5600, and you can get it for $150 on Newegg right now. So it's 6 cores, 12 threads, and it's a phenomenal entry-level CPU, and it'll definitely last you a long time, even though the platform it's on is technically dead. But one of the main reasons why I actually decided to go with this processor is because the platform is so cheap right now. And so I got this A320 motherboard, the A320M from MSI, for only $29 shipped on hardware swap. That is a great deal for a motherboard right now. Even though it's not the highest quality, it'll definitely work. And the cool thing about it too is for not much more, you can get an A520 board or even some B450 boards brand new for like $50, $60 right now. So even though the i3-12100 is a cheaper alternative, it's probably going to be around the same price as this $150 Ryzen 5 plus a cheap-ish motherboard. Now to pair the processor and the motherboard, I just have 16 gigs of RAM, 2 8GB sticks, 3200 megahertz, CAS latency 16. And if that sounds like gibberish to you, don't worry. It basically just means it's good enough. The RAM is getting really cheap, DDR4 memory, so you could probably get this for like $45 to $50. I think that's about the price that I paid. Now storage is also getting really cheap as well. So I just bought a 512 gig SSD for like $29 on Amazon with Prime shipping. Now you can go with an M.2 drive or you can go NVMe, and that basically just means it's going to be smaller and faster respectively, but a SATA SSD is going to be more than enough for the casual gamer, entry-level builder, that type of stuff. And for only $30, that's a really good price. Now, the component that a lot of you are probably wondering is the video card. And I'm happy to say that we got a really solid deal here. It's a GTX 1660 Super 6 gig, and I got it for $115 used on Reddit's hardware swap. Now, we've all gone through the pain of very expensive and low stock video cards, but that's really not the case anymore. You can get video cards used for a really good price. And so even if you can't get a 1616 Super for $115 like I did, you can definitely get a 5600 XT, which is a little bit faster for about $150 on eBay, or even cheaper locally, or a GTX 1070, which is about the same performance for about $150 as well. Zach also tweeted how he recently bought a video card and just a few days later, the same card goes for like $20 cheaper. And so that's just how the market is right now. Things are getting cheap, they're readily available, so you really have nothing to worry about. And to power the entire machine, we have the Corsair CV650. I actually bought this from GameStop a while ago for about $42. It's going to do everything we need to do and be cheap while doing it, like price-wise. I guess it'll also kind of be cheap quality-wise, but good enough cheap, hopefully. Honestly, one of my favorite parts about this build is the case. So we have the Thermaltake Versa H18, which is a really nice budget computer case. And thankfully it's back in stock because a lot of times it goes out of stock pretty quickly, and that's a good sign. It means it's a pretty good case. It has holes in the front, so you have some good airflow. It has a power supply basement, so you have a place to put all your wires, which would be very good for the power supply that we have. It has tempered glass so you can see the insides, and it has a lot of space for fans, for a radiator. It's overall just a really good case, and it's only about $55. And then to top everything off, I just have some fans from up here, which you've probably heard of the brand before, but it's 5-pack, 120 millimeter fans, RGB, $30. Cheap, gets the job done, and it's gonna give some airflow. I feel like it's a pretty good addition, though not necessary. I highly recommend getting some fans in the case. All right, let's start the build. All right. All right, so we're gonna place the CPU in here. Be very careful not to bend the pins behind it. So we're just gonna lift the lever and place it in. The Ryzen logo should be parallel to the socket. Now we're gonna install the CPU cooler, the AMD Wraith, and it does come with thermal paste already pre-installed. So you can totally use this thermal paste, it'll work fine. Personally, I tend to avoid it only because I think the thermal paste included can get kind of sticky. And if I ever need to remove the CPU for whatever reason, I don't want it to get stuck to my motherboard. So I'm just gonna take some isopropyl alcohol, and I'm just gonna... Oh, this one doesn't look nearly as crusty as the other ones that I've dealt with. All right, so if you don't have thermal paste, then now we were going to put a little bit on here, a pea-sized drop. But again, your CPU cooler that comes with the CPU will have thermal paste on it already. So you don't need to do this if you bought your CPU brand new and it came with a cooler. I just want to make that clear. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've installed a Wraith cooler. These actually have to come off. So I'm gonna line it up so the AMD jut out thing is gonna be to the left of the RAM so I don't block any of the RAM slots. I'm gonna orient it this way. Then you're gonna screw in an X pattern. So then all 4 screws are at least partially screwed in, and then we're gonna finish it off by tightening each. And we can just do this now. We'll just plug in the CPU cooler to the CPU fan header right here. And then it's always easier to cable manage as you go, in my opinion. Now we can install the RAM. So you're just gonna line up the notch on the RAM stick with the notch in the RAM slot. I'm gonna open up these clips. So we have our main platform built. Here it is. Honestly, I think it looks really nice. So now we're gonna prep the case, and that just means that we're going to install the IO shield for the motherboard, any motherboard standoffs. We're gonna install the case fans. We're gonna install the power supply and start routing any cables that we can. I'm also gonna try and find any system fans on the motherboard. So I see one here under the CPU battery. So I think that's the only case fan option that we have. And then we want the fan of the power supply to be facing down so we can get airflow from the bottom. Now I'm gonna route just a few cables. So I'll start with right here and then we'll see what happens. This is gonna be an exhaust fan, so air is gonna blow this way through the fan. This is the back. So it's gonna come up out here. Now that all the fans are installed, we're gonna route the cables later. We can go ahead and check the motherboard, start installing that. So we have the IO plate, and this is essentially gonna fit like that. The motherboard is gonna sit like this, so we're gonna install it that way. And then this is pretty hard to see, but they are motherboard standoffs. They're these like hexagonal little things that you put your motherboard on, and that's to protect the motherboard from touching the metal of the case and shorting something. Not sure if that's gonna cover everything, but we can check and see. Okay, yeah, I think that covers everything. Every hole on the motherboard has a standoff, so we're good to screw it in. And I really like the orange color on this because it complements the blue of the RAM so nicely. Like, look at that. I'm pretty sure we're gonna turn you over. So SSD was installed. Now we're gonna start plugging stuff in, and then we'll end with the video card. I'm plugging the motherboard cable. think everything is plugged in but the GPU. So I line it up here. And then I noticed that it's going to be the second and the third slot. So those are the ones that we're going to take out. All right, and then we just plug you in, this guy. And it's built, doesn't this orange right here look so good with the orange on the video card and then the contrast? So nice. Anyway, computer's built, let's plug it in, see if it works. Is this the power button? The cable was touching it, but it's working. We finally completed the $500 computer, and I think it looks pretty good, way better than I expected. The only thing I would change is maybe spray paint the Wraith cooler. You can do that for like $7, maybe an hour or two. And then for $20, you can buy some cable extensions to match the color profile that you have for your computer build. Aesthetically, pretty good. Performance-wise, also really good. We tried an array of titles, Cyberpunk, Elden Ring. GTA 5 was gonna be in there, but we hit some technical difficulties. My Rockstar account got hacked literally the night before. So don't be like me, have better password security. Everything was more than playable, and the worst case scenario was Cyberpunk, and that was with high settings, fidelity, FX not enabled. So changing the settings, you can definitely hit 60 FPS easily in that game. And then the cool part too is because we have a GTX 1660 Super, we have the NVENC encoder, so you can stream really easily while maintaining good performance in all of your games. I think this computer is a really good investment, and it really didn't take that much time or searching for my part. If you want to build a computer like this, now is honestly a good time. There are a few different sites I would recommend. Reddit's Hardware Swap, great place, eBay, and then local classifieds. If you're just searching casually, you'll definitely be able to get this type of performance. As a matter of fact, the only parts that I bought used were the video card, which you can definitely buy for around the price that I got it now, and then the motherboard for about $30. But even for not much more, you can get a new one and it'll work just as well. So overall, very happy with the build. I hope that you guys enjoyed it too, and it inspires you to build your own. Good time to build. I recommend doing it. Even if you go all new, you can get some pretty good parts. So thanks for watching, guys. If you liked it, leave a like. If you loved it, share, subscribe, all that stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Why did I whisper that? I'm so weird. And now I sound like one of those girls that's like, I'm so weird and quirky.